So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting
Joe, I asked him to give a quick bio on his background. So, Joe, would you give us a word or two?
Yeah, my wife and family are a new term that's cropping up in the media, and London certainly would recognize it. Well, they're calling us boomerangers. People like London and myself who left our home. I was born and raised in Ambridge, went to the West Coast, got our major part of our life out of the way, and have now come back to our roots as those boomerangers. Well, one of the things I did is I made a living as a piano player aboard the steamboat Delta Queen. And as I was saying to Ken, sadly, my brother photographed it last week in Houma, Louisiana, where it's rotting away, and it's now being picked over by the vandals. So it's probably going to be a very short time that a major part of my history will be gone. But nonetheless, throughout my life, there have been periods where I've played more or less, and I was lucky enough to meet London when he was first starting his venture here, and couldn't imagine a better person to revitalize the arts here in our community, and we're very lucky to have London. So that's a quick roundup of what's going on. It's nice to be here.
Welcome, Joe, and you add an awful lot to the group here. Appreciate it. The other thing I want to keep hammering on is this is a list of our membership, our addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses. It's on the back table there. If there's any changes or deletions on it that you want to put in there, please put that down, and we'll get the changes made. The other thing, all you guys should be receiving emails that Pat Griffin does a great job of sending out with announcements as far as our future speakers and any upcoming events. If you're not receiving emails from us, either your email is wrong, and we'll have to correct that on the sheet, or there could be another communications problem. But if you've given us your email, you should be receiving weekly emails from us. So that's all I had. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Wasn't that bad, was it? No.
Okay, as I was saying, London and one other man took an old building in Ambridge and turned it into a theater, and it's a success. I've been to several events there. And I was thinking, just like Joe Rosenberger, I was born and raised in Ambridge. Ambridge was known for a lot of things, never good theater and not arts. It made the Guinness Book of World Records for the most bars per capita in the United States. And that's the kind of a town it was. But these two fellas thought that theater would be the thing to do, and they took an old building in Ambridge and it took them 2 years to remodel it and get it to the place where now they have plays, and the last one was Mike Webster. And I didn't see it, but I understand it was great. So please put your hands together for London Cain.
Thank you, Jerry. I'm a teacher at Moon, so I'm a big believer in visual aids. So I brought some things in over here. I actually had a wonderful PowerPoint I was going to show you, but there's always technical difficulties, so I can't show you that. I do have at the very end, if you want to check out the screen over here. We did like a little video tour of the theater, what it looks like today, so if you're interested in that, it's more than just a theater that I really want to talk about. I do want to say thank you, Joe, for that nice compliment. I appreciate it. Joe just wandered in off the street one day when I was working over there at the theater, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a pianist, and I have done silent movies and everything." And so it was really nice getting to know him. And he comes in and plays for us during intermission or before the plays start. So he's always hanging around the theater when we're up and running. Of course, we've been shut down like everyone else for about 1.5 years, but we're back on our feet again. So I'm looking forward to Joe coming in there. We're about to plan some stuff that we're going to do. We're bringing back silent movies, of all things. Can you imagine that? So we have some great ideas to do that as well. It'll be fun. It'll be entertaining, and I look forward to it. And so I guess I don't know why this is on my mind, but I was listening to the radio on the way in, and it's 8 years ago today. Remember, anybody else a baseball fan? Am I the only one? There are a few baseball fans out there. But I was at the game 8 years ago today when it was the Cueto thing. Remember Cueto, and he dropped the ball, and the next thing that you know, Martin hits the home run, and wow, what an amazing day that was 8 years ago. And I don't know what happened to Pittsburgh sports since then, but we'll get it back together. So I guess my story, I have to go way back because it's hard for me to talk about the theater without giving you some background about myself and where I come from. I was raised over on the north side back in the 60s and 70s, and I actually started out, believe it or not, if you're familiar with Northview Heights up in the projects. So that's originally where I'm from. I did move as a teenager. We moved over to Bellevue and eventually settled in Westview, where I was declared the worst kid at North Hills High School. And and it was either pretty much we're going to expel you or you're going to have to do something. So they wanted me to take my GED or something. I wouldn't do it, but I ended up quitting high school. I'm a high school dropout. And went back. I was actually left home, went to Florida, and was struggling there for a while. Was homeless basically for about 2 years, and went back to high school at the age of 20. Literally went back to high school at 20. Finished my degree. Went on to become a sheriff's deputy for about 5 years, and of all things, I know, imagine that. And now I'm a teacher. Nobody ever would have guessed that, believe me, nobody. So I became a teacher and ended up, and again, I'm cutting a lot of things out here. It was quite probably write a book just about that alone. But I ended up in California, and I was teaching at a small school, my very first job in California, a small school called Lockwood. And it was literally like 25 kids in 7th grade and 25 kids in 8th grade. That was the school. So I was teaching, actually I taught 6th grade too, another 25 kids, 6th grade. So really small school out near a military base. And my first thing is I'm like, I'm teaching and I want to do all these extra things. And so I'm like, what else can I do to help these kids? And the kids came to me and they said, "Mr. Cain, would you be our basketball coach?" And I played basketball, but a lot of basketball actually. I knew how to play the street game, but not really the organized game of basketball. So I started out coaching these kids. They actually came up to me and they're like, and I said, "Well, what happened to your coach?" And like, "Well, we always have our coaches always quit." And I said, "Okay, so who's the team? Were you guys any good?" And they're like, "We haven't won any games." I'm like, "Okay, but what's your record?" And they're like, "No, we haven't won any games in 3 years. We have not won a single game in 3 years." So So I got a book. Actually, I got an old VCR videotape, John Wooden, back from the, I don't know, 60s or 70s or something. So I'm watching this. I got one at the public library and got this, and I'm like, I got to learn how to coach. I'm going to coach these kids. And we barely had enough kids even to make a team. I had to recruit 6th graders and 7th graders to play on this 8th grade team just to make a complete team. Well, make a long story short, we were undefeated for 2 years and won 2 state championships in our first 2 years, believe it or not. I could write another book just about that. So anyways, I did that for a while. 2 years I coached at this school and I taught at this school. And then I transferred to another school in California, Santa Maria, California. And 90% of the kids there were Mexican American. A lot of them couldn't speak English. The parents could not speak English. And so it was a nice school. It wasn't bad. But they didn't, again, I got back into coaching. I started coaching basketball there as well. But I noticed I only had a small effect on, this was a lot of kids that had some serious problems, outside of school. And so I thought, let's do something positive other than basketball. So I started a drama club because I saw there were a lot of talented kids there that just needed an outlet. So the school did not have a theater. It did have a multi-purpose room. And again, to make a long story short, I raised money. I put together a theater. And our very first play, everyone told me that you're crazy. There's no way you can do it. The kids hardly speak English. But I wanted to do Shakespeare. So I said, no, we're going to do Shakespeare. And so we did it, and it was amazing. We did Romeo and Juliet. We set it in the 1950s, almost like a West Side Story. And the kids were just an amazing success. And so I did that for about 7 years, built this drama program up. We were doing musicals, we're doing plays, we're doing all kinds of things there. Still going strong today. Even after I left, we kept the program going. Other people took over. So that brings me to 2010. I moved to Pittsburgh, my wife and I. We have a son who's in 2nd grade, and I get a teaching job up at Moon, by the way. And so I'm teaching there, and I find they don't have a drama program there. So I can't do it at that point because my son's young, my wife's working, I got to get home right after work, I got to take care of him after school and everything. So it was a few years before I felt comfortable with starting up another program at a middle school. So I started up a drama program there. We did some amazing musicals. It's amazing the talent that kids have. It really is. If you just give them an opportunity, it's amazing what they can do. I wish I could show you some of the things that we have done. You'd be, I think, pretty impressed. But I don't take credit. I take part of the credit, but it's really the kids and all the support that I get from everybody that really puts these things together, just like with the theater. So anyways, that's where I really started in around 2015. I just started a drama club there at Moon, and that was having success. And then I thought, well, I used to do a lot of community theater myself, and I knew that the Toll Theater, at that time I think it was called the Swickley Theater, something like that, was going to open. And somebody had told me that, there's going to be a small place there where you can maybe perform, maybe plays and things like that. It'll be a theater for movies, but also maybe like a performing arts type of place as well. And I was excited about that, so I started up a 501c3 nonprofit theater company with the idea that I would maybe do a couple plays a year over there at the theater, the Toll Theater. Well, it turned out that they didn't really have the space for that. I did try, but it really wasn't set up for that. So I thought, okay, I need to get maybe a venue or something. I actually did a Sweetwater. We did an enhanced stage reading of a play called Good People at the Sweetwater, and then we did the same thing over at the Ambridge Library, another beautiful facility there. But I knew that I needed to find a place. We had to find a place or a venue where we can perform. So I thought of this church in Leedsdale, and it was right there on Broad Street. Maybe you know it, anybody knows the area. I almost bought that, but it fell through at the last minute. My brother, who was investing with me, said, that's going to be a huge money pit, forget it. And he kind of dropped out, and that was the end of that project. So I didn't give up. I did find a building in Ambridge, and I knew nothing really of Ambridge at the time. All I knew was, I'd gone to Rook's a few times, had a couple beers there, and then that place had burnt down. That was kind of a sad thing for me. I enjoyed that place. Maybe went there a couple. I went to Old Economy a few times with my son. I really enjoyed that. So that was about the extent of what I knew of Ambridge. But I found a building there. It was a church. It's funny because it used to be a bar. So, of course, everything was a bar at one time in Ambridge. Anyways, it was a bar at one time back in the 30s. It looked like just a two-story brick house, and somebody had converted it into a church. And then another church group bought it, and they added on to it. When I found the building, it had been in disarray. I mean, the roof had been leaking and caving in. The ceilings were caving in. The electrical was really bad. It was a major fire hazard. Plumbing, everything was shot, really and truly. And they only wanted $14,000 for the building. So I was able to buy the building with the idea that, well, I'm not going to have the money to fix it, but I can maybe doctor up the roof, fix it a little bit. I can keep my costumes and props and things like that, maybe do some rehearsing in there, and that would be about the extent of it. So I started that process. We got the building, and I did a little bit of repair to it. Then I was over on the north side. This is probably 2015, I believe, somewhere around there, 16. 2016. And just going around my old neighborhood and, looking around over there, and I saw a bookstore. And I go into the bookstore. It was the only thing open. And it had this book up on a shelf. I don't know if you've ever read it or have seen it. It's called Rust Belt Boy. It's written by a former resident of Ambridge, Paul Hurtnecki. And it caught my attention. I don't know why. I just thought, that's an interesting title. I saw it. And I asked the woman who owned the bookstore, I said, what's that about? And she said, well, that's somebody from Ambridge. And it's sort of like a historical account of what had happened there, and somebody wrote it, and they talked about what it was like growing up there in the 70s and 80s, I believe, or I should say 60s, 70s, and early 80s. So that caught my interest, and I go, wow, I just bought a building over there. I'm interested in that area. I'd like to know more about it. So I bought the book, and I read it, and after I read the book, that's when it changed. That's when everything changed for me. That's when I actually fell in love with the little town of Ambridge, and I'm like, I really want to make this theater, not just something where I can do props and do some rehearsals, but I really want to make it special. So I got an architect, drew up the plans for me, started thinking about how much money I'm going to need to raise, and thought everybody would share my enthusiasm, and of course nobody did. It's Ambridge, nobody cares. That was a little disheartening, but now you know a little bit about my background. You know that I'm not the kind of person that gives up. Quitting is something that goes just against my nature completely, something I never got over after I quit high school. That really did not sit well with me. It ate at me pretty bad, and that's why I became a teacher and did what I did. Eventually got my master's at Pitt. So I'm not somebody who takes quitting easily. I latch on to something and I just fight until I get it done. So I basically, out of frustration, not being able to raise money, I went in there and just started doing it myself. I have no carpentry skills at all, no electrician skills, no plumbing skills, nothing. But I'm good at knocking stuff down. That I discovered. I'm good with a sledgehammer. So I went in there and just started knocking everything down, walls down, just knocked down everything. I'm surprised the whole building didn't collapse on me, really. Some of the stuff I shouldn't have knocked down, I knocked down. But I managed to pretty much do a lot of work, just a physical labor. And I created a huge pile of debris. I think there might even be some pictures up there of that. And now I'm like, now what do I do? So that's kind of where I was at. And now it's the end of the school year, and Moon always has a social where all the teachers get together and hang out. And I did not go to the right place that day. It was the last day of school. The teachers were heading out for drinks and food and all that. And I went to the wrong place. And when I went in there, I'm like, there's nobody here. I must be the first one. So I didn't know what to do. I sat down. I knew something wasn't right. And there's one other person that's in that bar. His name was Doug May. And I just started a conversation with him. And I started telling him about this place, this theater that I bought. It wasn't really a theater. It was a building, but I wanted to turn it into a theater. And he's like, I'm a carpenter. I'd like to help you with that. And so I said, nah, well, okay, yeah, it'd be great. But I didn't really think he was serious. People make promises. I thought maybe at the very best he would show up for maybe a weekend or something and help me a little bit. But he ended up coming down there every weekend, every day off. I was there every day over my summer vacations. I was every weekend, and we just together did this whole project. So that's really, there's a lot more to it than that, but it was quite a miracle. And it seems like every time we needed somebody, or we needed a volunteer, or we needed somebody, that person would always just kind of show up somehow. I really have no idea how this happened. But it did, and so it was almost like it was meant to be. And so I don't know if you believe in miracles or not, but it was basically pretty much a miracle to get this building done. I had contractors come in and they're like, well, if you could raise $300,000 or $400,000, we could do it for you. Obviously, that wasn't we weren't able to do that, so we pretty much had to do it ourselves. But it did, there's still a lot of costs. Even when you do the work, you still have to pay for things. And so we were able to raise money slowly as time went on. I maxed out every one of my credit cards. That my wife wasn't happy about that, but we were able to handle things. And of course, COVID shut us down not too long ago, a year and a half ago, and that was a scary time for us too, because everything was on the line at that point. Like, we had not raised enough money to have a nice little cushion or anything like that. So we, getting loans and things like that was a big deal. We were able to hang on through COVID. And then we just opened up again. We did a play called 1252, the Mike Webster story. When I got that script, I thought, wow, it's perfect. It's a perfect story of grit and determination and the human spirit and the will to never give up, that kind of thing. And that fits us perfectly. So we're really, really proud of that play. We just did it. Franco Harris came out, and some of the other Steelers were able to come out and watch that. And it was just cool. They were my idols growing up. A big Steeler fan, big sports fan, like I told you. So it was exciting to do the play at our little theater and to see, some of my iconic people that I remember growing up there at the theater that we'd put together. So I don't know how much time I have. Did you want me to elaborate, or should we take questions?
Till 11:15.
Okay, so we're still good on time?
Yes.
All right. So now I did have this wonderful PowerPoint presentation. I would love to be able to show it to you right now. But if you look at some of the pictures over here, I don't know how well you can see them. There's a picture there with Doug, and he's working on the stage. And when we put together our stage, all that material was donated to us from the Ambridge Lumber Company at cost. So that was, in fact, they donated almost everything at cost. So a nice shout out to the Ambridge Lumber Company. You could see some of the other volunteers that came in to work with us. A lot of we had RMU, the fraternities at RMU. They sent us 20 workers, I think, one day, maybe more. I just know I had to keep going over to the Do It Best hardware store and buying more and more tools, more sledgehammers, and those guys were just helping us with a lot of stuff for about 2 or 3 days. They helped, which was huge. Helping clean up the mess, just having a lot of hands. There's a couple gentlemen there, Matt and Hayden, who laid some tile for us, came in one day and said, yeah, we do tile, and they came in and laid tile for us. Amy Alferson, who's a wonderful actress, came in, and she's doing some drywall, and she's doing just cleaning up and actually doing some plaster work. We had people come in and lay concrete for us. And so you could just see it wasn't really a two-man project, because we did get volunteers. The only thing I say two-man is because Doug and I were there from the beginning to end, where a lot of volunteers were coming in, working weekends. Michael Connect, who manages over there at Old Economy, came in, him and his wife, volunteered for a day. So it really was a community project with all hands on deck. So we didn't just do two, it wasn't just two of us, but I did appreciate the community helping out. So now, the theater is together. What are some things that we've done? And this is the stuff I'm most proud about, because it really isn't about patting myself on the back for anything, I promise you. I really don't like even telling you the things that I told you about myself. I just feel like in order to understand the project, you had to kind of know some of that stuff. But the things that I'm most proud about are the community things that we do there. We had a senior writing program where seniors were writing memoirs, and I said, well, and again, a lot of these older senior citizens were never, ever on stage, never did any type of performance things ever in their life. And I said, why don't we get you guys up there on stage and you could read these to an audience. And they were like, oh no, I can't do that. That's, but we talked them into it. And it was probably my favorite thing that we've ever done. I had them singing. They were singing parts of what they had written. They were talking. They gave these wonderful speeches, these stories of their lives. And we had a sold-out audience. Well, we didn't charge tickets, but it was packed. And it was just an amazing experience. The other thing that we do after-school programs. My drama program at Moon, for a variety of reasons, nothing to do with me or the kids, but that program was discontinued, and I said, well, I'm going to bring all the kids from Moon down to my theater. So now we have all my kids from Moon, we have kids from Swickley, we have kids from Baden, Beaver, and different areas that come in. We do dance classes, we do music classes, art classes, we do performances, we do musicals every year with the kids. So that kind of stuff is what really makes me proud. We still do plays, we do musicals, we have a comedy club, we do concerts, we have people that come in and just want to use the theater for other reasons. It's a real community space, and that's what makes me the most proud. And also, it changes the image, I think, of Ambridge as well. I mean, bringing in the music, bringing in the arts is a huge thing. I know this, right where we're located, right there, we're by the Do It Best on 4th Street, near 4th and Maplewood. We're on Maplewood and 4th. I can tell you that area was not a good area. And a lot of people that originally were telling me, you can't do it there, that's the worst end of Ambridge, you got to go down by Old Economy if you do anything at all. And I said, no, this is a perfect area. Yeah, I heard gunshots. Yes, I saw the drug things happening when I was there. I saw all the crazy people coming in asking me for money, and I'll work if you give me money. And the one guy that died of a drug overdose, right there next to where we were at. And so, yeah, I did see all that kind of stuff. That stuff is no longer there. It's not there anymore. There's still, some squirrely people there, no question about that. But I love them. They're good neighbors, actually, once you get to know them and talk to them a little bit. But a lot of the drug issues are now gone. I don't see a lot of the violent things there anymore. So that little area where we're at has come a long way since 2016. So I feel good about that as well. I feel like we did make a difference in that immediate area, that immediate community. And I do think now we have the Alter Genius, which is a microbrewery that opened up right next to us. And I can see just a new Merchant Street with all the things that they've done there. And it just looks fantastic over there. And I see Ambridge on the rise right now. And so I take a tiny little bit of credit maybe for that. I don't know. But I think that having a reputation where you have parents who are coming in from Moon, because originally when I had the parents come in, there was some, I don't know if I want to bring my kids over there, that's not safe or something. I did get some of that. I get none of that anymore. I just recently did a sign up for our drama club, which starts next week. And I have so many kids that signed up, I really don't even know how I'm going to handle that many kids, but we'll make it work. But no one talks about how that's scary or they're afraid or anything like that anymore. So that's me jibber-jabbering as much as I can. I could tell you're probably tired of hearing me talk. But I have a video here. At least check it out if you can. I know it's hard to see a little screen right there, but we can play it and maybe you can see it a little bit. Is that okay?
Question.
Sure. Oh yeah, Q&A, and then we'll take it from there. Yes, sir.
I saw the play Mike Webster. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
And Alter Genius is not that far away.
No, not at all.
You're right.
Yes.
But it was a great show. I loved it. And even Harris was there.
Yes.
And he talked a little bit.
The nice thing about Franco, he stayed. Like, a lot of times, and I understand this, if you're a celebrity, you don't want to be bothered every time you go out. But he stuck around for about an hour and a half outside, signed every autograph. Everyone lined up, and he just signed every single thing that came by. I was really, really impressed that he did that.
It was a great show. It really truly was.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Is your schedule of performances on the internet?
It is. If you go to our website, ironhorsetheatrecompany.com.
Say it again.
ironhorsetheatrecompany.com.
Okay.
It'll be, there's all kinds of stuff on there, including our schedule for the year.
And what's your capacity for seating?
We seat 60. Plus 2. So I have an extra 2 that's like a little balcony seat. That's like our VIP. Yeah. So we'll say our 62 people.
Don't you have a program, London, for December 12th? Is it it's a brass band or something?
We did that last year. We had a brass band come in for Oktoberfest last year. We did that as a free thing. It was all done. It was at the theater, but we videotaped it, and then we sent that out to everybody who wanted to watch it. You can still watch it today. We did a bunch of free stuff online during COVID. We did a bunch of concerts, a Valentine's Day concert, a New Year's concert, Christmas, Oktoberfest, a brass band stuff. You can go on our website and watch that stuff even now. We're really proud about the concerts that we've done. I'm excited. We just started up a series of 5 concerts every year. We did get a grant from the Heinz Endowment, and that was awesome, getting that grant. That was really surprising that we got it. So we're able to bring in groups. We brought in a band from New York, a jazz band, Jacob Khalil. He actually had an act that he was doing in Las Vegas, and he's if you like Harry Connick Jr. or Frank Sinatra, that type, I mean, he is a young guy. I don't know what it is about him. He just has that magic. He has that talent where you're just so entertained. You're smiling from ear to ear, and he just has it. So we were proud to bring him in. We've had other bands come in, usually jazz or soul music, that kind of thing. We just had somebody, Sarah Sellers, who I think works here at the Children's Center. She's unbelievable, beautiful young lady, amazing talent. She just did a concert for us last weekend. Yep. Any other questions?
Okay. Thank you, London.
Thank you.